Hello, good friends, and welcome to another episode of the 10,000 Lamps podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Ratke, here as always with Julian Andrews. Julian, what's up, dude?
Usual, but doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. It's like these weekends go by so fast. We're recording this on a Sunday night, and it's like, where does time go? Especially in the summers, in Minnesota, where like everything just books up, and then before you know it, like we're gonna blink and it's gonna be like mid-October. So,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, trying to enjoy the summer as much as you can without without like I remember my old roommate used to always say this, that like when the weather's really nice, you feel guilty for not going outside a lot. But by mid-August, he was always super burnt out of that. And it was like a really nice day and he would just sit inside and watch TV shows. And he's like, I'm just like so sick of feeling guilty for needing to be outside. I'm not at that point yet. I like being outside. But
I also don't feel guilty when I don't go outside. Sometimes it's hot. Sometimes you got shit to do. I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
No, I agree. And this whole next week's supposed to be really hot. You didn't come here for the weather, probably. I hope not. Because if you did, well, that's some bad news for you. We want to thank our good friends over at DraftKings. We don't have a read this week, but I think just overall the partnership with them has been great. And their free pools have been fantastic. I guess I just checked my account. I won like $5 from the home run derby.
Let's go.
And then I inserted that $5 into a $5 contest for the last playoff game, and I lost, but I could have won. So those have been a lot of fun. But put lineups in, and if you haven't used DraftKings yet, when you sign up, if you do minimum of $5, DraftKings will give you a little extra if you use the code TBPN. So use that, and it reflects well on us, and hopefully it gives you a shot of winning some money. With that, Julian, we have a fun podcast today. It might go, I don't know how long this is gonna last, but
we'll see.
So basically we're doing 10 questions. So I am asking you 5 questions. You're asking me 5 questions. I see our sheet open right now, but this is the first time that either of us have seen each other's questions. We'll just kind of alternate, but these are questions that are focusing on next season and like this off season, like mostly this off season, but some questions going in for next season about like trades, free agency, and that other stuff. So, and just for programming notes, we had 1 episode last week. We're having 3 this week. So expect today's to look at like this off season in the future. We'll have another podcast this week that'll focus on the finals, and probably we'll do our card corner in that one. And then we'll do another podcast focused like pretty much strictly on the Wolves and kind of what's next for them. So Julian, I guess, hopping into Timberwolves news, I have a question for you. The Timberwolves currently do not have a single draft pick in the 2021 NBA draft due to the D'Angelo Russell trade. Do the Wolves end up with a first-round pick in, I think it's 2 Thursdays from now?
No, I'm going to say no, they will not end up with a first-round pick. I would even go so far as to say that, what was their pick, top 3 protected or top 4 protected?
Top 4, yep.
Top 3,
sorry.
I'm going to say there's even a chance that if they had a top 3 pick that they would not have ended up with a pick in this draft. I think that Gerson is so desperate for his job, probably, that he is going to go into full win now mode. And I don't think that moving into the lottery to select probably like another kind of developmental piece at the place where they'd be able to get to with the assets that they have is going to be in the cards for him at all. So I think there's almost no chance. I could see them sliding into the like late first round if somebody's falling that they like, and seeing kind of a, maybe a couple of future seconds and a bit player for pick 25. I don't think there's any chance that they end up with a lottery pick.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I think I could see like a second round pick, or maybe a first round pick, but I think if they use a first round pick, they might use it in the similar realm of like the Balmero pick, where he just like comes over a year later, because we forget that he's coming over. And then if you just look at their roster from last year, they had Anthony Edwards and McDaniels were rookies. But then the year before that, the rookies were Naz Reid, Jordan McLaughlin, Jalen Noel, and Jarrett Culver.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's just a lot of youth.
Yep.
All right. Julian, hit me with your question.
All right. Pretty simple. Do the Nets or the field win the championship next year?
I'm gonna go with the Nets. And the odds are probably against me, but I just think that if Kyrie, it just seems like the odds of Kyrie and Harden getting hurt at like the same time, and like they still almost won that series on the back of KD. And then like you get a full off season with Harden being able to like implement himself with this team. I don't know. I just really like what they're doing.
Yeah.
And like this is no disrespect to the Nets or the Bucks or the Suns, but if the Nets were in the finals and they were healthy, which I know like shoulda, coulda, woulda, because nobody's healthy and blah blah blah. But even if they have like 2 of their 3 stars, I think like it's Nets in 5. Like I don't think it's particularly close.
So do you think though that I think that is largely true, except I think if something happens to KD, that changes. Because I don't know if a Harden, Kyrie, and the rest of the Nets team is that to me.
Yeah, but I mean that's probably true, I guess. But like if you're just saying like the lineups, like
true.
Like everybody's healthy, let's say.
Right. Yes. Right.
Because like I mean Durant was you're right. Like I don't think like I probably am not as bullish on them if Durant is hurt and it's Harden and Kyrie, but I still probably like them coming out of the East quite a bit. So I'll take the Nets. Like I think they'd be probably the odds-on favorite, and then I think out of the West, like I don't like it's hard with, and we'll talk about like Kawhi in a little bit here, but like if Kawhi's not healthy, and then like are the Lakers the favorites out of the West? Like I don't know. Like I think it feels like the West is wide open, so that's fun. But yeah, give me the Nets, and I'll actually I'm interested to see those odds after these finals are up. All right, Damien. All right, Julian. This is close to your heart, and I'm sorry. Is Damian Lillard on the Portland Trailblazers next year?
I'm gonna go with yes. I think it seems there.
You don't think the well is poisoned? I
do not. Well, I think it might be actually.
Don't drink it.
Don't drink it. I think if you ask me if I think Olshey will be the GM at the start of the season, I think that's more of a 50-50 to me. I think and I hope that Dame will be on the Blazers next year. I completely understand why he's not. It's Olshey's fault is the short story. But I think that this is I think what's happening now is kind of a throwing down the gauntlet for next year. Yeah. I think that if the Blazers are not good again, if he doesn't see the changes that he needs, then next summer he's gone. But there is a lot of time left on his current contract. And I know that like superstars have all the leverage, but I don't really see Dame as somebody who's going to like sit out. And I would hope that the Blazers would not just like trade him for nothing. And I think that like Dame, no matter what the situation with the leverage was, will fetch a pretty high trade price. But at the same time, like I don't think the timeline is that bad.
So as a guy who grew up a Blazers fan, like what would you need to get? Like let's say that Lillard's going to be traded this offseason. There's like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like what trade package is something that you'd be happy with? Like, does it need to be like an equal, like, are you looking for like an equal player in return, like a Ben Simmons swap? Or are you looking for like, hey, let's get 2 young players and like 7 first-round picks?
Well, I don't think Dame and Ben Simmons is an equal swap, first of all.
No, but I mean, like if it was like
I see what you mean, though.
Yeah, like 3 first-round picks and Ben Simmons. I'm saying like you're getting
right.
Like yeah.
I mean, no Dame trade would make me happy. I don't think there's a scenario in which the Blazers like win a Dame trade. At the same time, multiple firsts and a legitimate young star, Karl Anthony Towns, and 3 firsts.
Yeah.
No, I think like, oh man, I don't know. That's tough. It's really hard for me to think about that. I don't know like that any trade would make me happy because there's just like, there's like very few players like Dame in the league.
Yeah.
So you need like a large collection of assets. I hope that the move they go is trading CJ for something for like Bradley Beal or something, I don't know.
It feels like that's the thing. Like, I mean, I think what you do is you mortgage your future on bringing anybody in to help Dame now. Like if you go to the Wizards and you say, hey, we'll give you McCollum and we'll give you 3 first-round picks, like give us Bradley Beal. And
what are
like
you
basically
waiting for? Exactly.
Basically make a team say like, shit, like we can't not do this trade. Like for whoever it is. And then next year, if you suck and Dame wants out, well, I mean, the way first round picks are flying around for stars, like you're going to get those first round picks back.
And you tried. Like,
yeah. So I guess this is a conversation probably for another podcast, but like the frustrating thing with Portland, it's similar to like Minnesota during his KG years. It's like, yeah, they did this Cassell Sprewell thing and they were close, but you never felt like they actually like put all their chips in. Like they were kind of like hedging their bets all the time of like, well, we're a homegrown team. But also it's like, well, yeah, but I mean, that's great. And these NBA finals are not a great example of that. But it's like, well, that's not how we're going to do this. So. And
the year after they went to the Western Conference Finals, instead of like, they made that team worse and they let all those guys go. Like, and like, didn't really get much for them. It's like every time Neil Olshey tries to like rebuild around the edges, he fucks it up.
Yeah.
Where it's like, instead of like seeing, okay, that team was really close, let's bring back some role players and then mortgage our future to get another star. They said, oh, what we need to do is change the role players.
Yeah.
It's like, no, those guys were fine. Like Seth Curry, like Al-Farouq Aminu, like these guys like aren't like great players, but like they did well. So anyways, I could talk for a long time about this. Maybe we will if Dame gets traded.
Yeah, we could.
But here's my next question for you. So Phoenix, obviously on this kind of, I would call it a dream run to the finals with the last 3 games. It seems like a long time ago they went up 2-0 in the finals. And not that I'm saying they're out of it. Like they have shown an ability to kind of be resilient and they play better as the underdog. And Chris Paul, maybe he's not dead. Do you think Phoenix will be a top 3 seed in the West next year?
It's a good question. I'm going to say no. And it actually probably has less to do with Phoenix than it does the rest of the rest of the West. Like, for example, like, I don't know if everybody's healthy and all things considered, if like the Lakers are healthy and the Nuggets are healthy and Utah's completely healthy with like Mike Conley and the Clippers have Kawhi, like, I don't know where the Suns rank out of that. And again, like we've said it before, like you can only beat the team that's ahead of you. So this isn't a knock on the Suns. But then I look into next year and let's say you bring back Chris Paul, like he's not going to be better at age like 36 or 37. Like I think Ayton and like Bridges and Booker are all probably going to be better. But I also think like so are the Warriors and so are the Lakers. Like they'll be healthy and we'll see with the Clippers with Kawhi and like if he comes back and then if he does come back, like if he'll play. But then the Nuggets are getting Jamal Murray. Like I just think there's so many question marks, and also like the fact that next year we're heading into a season where they're starting like normal time, and here we are in mid-July.
Yep.
And like. They're going to have to like these, and like Devin Booker's playing in the Olympics. He's literally going to have like 2 months off of basketball before starting again. So I'm going to say no, but like I'm still like super intrigued by Phoenix's future. But I would say no to a top 3 seed.
I think I'm probably with you there. I do not think we're going to look at a situation like we did with the Heat this year, where they just like weren't very good. Like I think the Suns will be really good next year, and I think Devin Booker is kind of proving that he belongs in this like Luka, Trey, like these like maybe I don't want to say Giannis necessarily because he's a 2-time MVP, but like these kind of like future stars who are going to be, he'll be a top 10 player.
He's knocking on that door.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's promising, but I'm with you. I think it's just going to be tough.
All right. We talked about him. I think we mentioned him twice already. We got news, I think maybe late last week, that it was indeed a torn ACL for Kawhi Leonard with the Clippers. And I think they called it like a partial torn ACL, partially torn. So I don't know if that still means like it's probably like a 9-month timeline, or if that means it's shorter, or, whatever. I mean, we can talk about the situation in general and just like how everybody kind of knew it was a torn ACL, but nobody talked about it, and now they confirm it after the fact. So I haven't read enough, I guess, about it to understand why. But Kawhi can opt out of his deal this offseason with the Clippers and whatever. Do you think he opts in, or do you think or I guess there's 3 options here, right? He opts in, he opts out, and then re-signs with the Clippers, or he opts out and signs somewhere else completely?
Yep. Well, I think there's 2 ways for him to play it. And the first is to say, I am not necessarily a young player. I just tore my ACL. Not that he's old.
Mm-hmm.
I just tore my ACL. I'm going to get as much money as possible. And the other way is, I'll say this. I think, yes, he will be on the Clippers next year.
Okay.
I do not think he will want to go to a different team and finish his rehab. I think that when you see guys get hurt, typically they stay. So probably that means he'll opt in. I could also see him doing something like opting out and signing another 2-year deal with the Clippers.
Yeah.
I don't see him signing a super long-term deal with a different team. If he wants to stay in LA long-term, I could totally see him opting out and re-signing in LA. I did not see him opting out and signing a long-term deal when honestly, like, his leverage is the lowest it'll ever be in his career.
Yeah, that's a good point about the injuries. Leaving a team that knows the most about your injury, and they've done all the, the checkups and the research, and all of a sudden, like, going to a new team seems weird. And like, I think from another team too, it's like, it's just a little like
scary.
It is scary because you're like, you think the severity of the injury, but then once you actually have them in, you're like, oh, maybe not. Like, maybe our physical wasn't what we thought. Yeah, I think he does end up with the Clippers again. Probably won't play next year, but I think you're right when you say the like opt out and sign like another 1 and 2, like 1 and 1. Yeah, like where he has
just like defer the decision.
Yeah, like worst case scenario, the ACL is just not where it needs to be, and it ends up taking longer. Well, then you could still opt in, and you get $60 million over the next 2 years.
Now, if the Clippers want that, is another question, but you can't say no. If right?
I don't think you have a choice. Yeah.
All right. Next question for you: does Utah? Staying in the West. Does Utah ever make the finals with their current core? And I'm talking like Mitchell, Gobert, Conley.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no. And even if we like extend that to just Mitchell and Gobert,
yeah, you can take out Conley if you want.
I think no too.
Yeah.
I just have a tough time thinking that. Like, I think Mitchell could, like, he is good enough to be in like that Devin Booker talk too. But I think it's hard because like, one part of me is like, well, they are very San Antonio Spursy, where they have just so many plug and play guys, and like Quin Snyder has just done a fantastic job there. But I think like for me, like the biggest thing is they definitely need another. They need like another offensive star. And it's hard when Gobert, like he's getting paid so much. He's a max guy. And certainly he's great defensively, but he gets kind of run off the court in the playoffs. And offensively, like besides just like running to the rim, I mean, he's almost he doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I'm going to say no. And like the West is so good, like where we're going to look back and I don't know if Gobert is like a Hall of Famer, but he's like, right. He's made all these like all defensive teams and whatever. But like when it actually comes to like impact on the court, I feel like out of the centers in the West, like if you look at like Davis and Ayton and Jokic, like I just feel like the least confident, like the last guy that I'd want on my team would probably be Gobert.
This has not been a good playoffs for the Jazz, just because seeing Ayton and Booker too, just like kind of take a next step, and like Mitchell's really good, but wouldn't you put him closer to like Jamal Murray than you would to
Booker
at this point.
Yeah. I mean, probably. I mean, but it is fair. Like 3 months ago, those three were kind of in the same conversation.
That's true.
So,
we do have kind of recency
and like,
bias.
Yeah, and like I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I just think that they just need somebody else, and like I think Mike Conley can be that guy, but like I think this was the year where it's like they needed Conley to be healthy in the playoffs, and like with point guards like that as they age, like health really isn't on their side.
And this was kind of the year to catch lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, but I do think like the Quin Snyder coaching stuff. I was reading some stuff like with Quin Snyder be on the hot seat, it's like no, I think like Quin Snyder's easily one of the best coaches in the league. Speaking of coaching, there has been a lot of moves in the West, in the NBA this year as far as like new coaches, like all over the place, and I honestly don't even know if I can keep track of all of them. But Julian, for you, what was the best coaching hire? What was the match that you liked the best?
I'm just looking at a list now. Well, there's a couple that I really like. I think Carlisle to the Pacers is good because we know Rick Carlisle is a good coach. Clearly, there's some funny stuff going on in Dallas.
Yeah.
I really like the Udoka hire, honestly, for the Celtics. And I think that, I don't know if this counts, but the Hawks making Nate McMillan official, that was really good too. So I think those three all kind of stand out to me. Yeah. I don't know a ton about Wes Unseld Jr.
I think what I was most excited about for like coaching was like as much as the Jason Kidd move, like just kind of like bummed me out in Dallas. Like, I think like I'm most excited for, and like we talked about like the Chauncey Billups stuff that certainly there's like some stuff that happened, 20 some years ago that I don't think people were aware of, and blah, blah, blah. Like it doesn't make the hiring right or wrong. Like, but I guess what I'll say is I really enjoyed the fact that we had new hires come in that weren't like Rick Carlisle deserved to have another coaching job. But like Jason Kidd did not. And I think we see a lot of times these coaches that were just like coaches for like, it happened to Dave Yeager, like where it's like, he just like kept getting head coaching jobs. And you're like maybe he's just like not that good of a coach. Like Luke Walton too. It's like, well, I don't think like he's very good. So it's nice to see like these young coaches get their first opportunities, and that's like Unseld and, and like even Billups, right? Where, and then in Boston too. So I like that. I like new blood, and like certainly,
me too.
There's going to be some failures, and like some guys won't be ready, but like it's at least better than like at least we're getting experience to like new faces in the league.
Totally, I agree. I think it's nice to see. I think it makes the league better to not just have the same dudes cycling through all of the coaching jobs. I think the Billups hire has obviously just handled extremely poorly by the Blazers, but in kind of the macro, having a lot of new coaches, I agree with you. I think it's a really good thing.
Yeah.
All right. I guess it's my turn. Okay. So we keep talking about the Lakers as if they're kind of this like juggernaut that was taken down by injuries.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you think that's true. Like, were the Lakers really done in by injuries this year, or are they just not as good as we think?
Yeah. I don't know. It's like both. I know that's like a hedging, and it's not.
No,
fair,
I get it.
But like, so I do think that they were like, it's hard to be like, oh yeah, like I think the team certainly still would have lost if LeBron is 100% and Anthony Davis is 100%. Like those are two of the top like 6 players in the entire league, probably. But I will say, like outside of that, like the Dennis Schroeder experiment sucked. Like he doesn't seem like he fit in very well. You look at the rest of the team, and it's like, like I just don't like their team, like at all.
Right, exactly.
Outside of those 2 players, I have a tough time. Like, you look at the depth on some of these teams, and it's like this in every finals where there's like certain players that you feel like shouldn't play. But for the Lakers, it seemed like there was like 6 out of the 8 guys. I was like, like I'm not like quite so sure about this.
Exactly. I feel like that every time I watch him, it's like, this guy?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, moving forward, I certainly I think people, when the Lakers won in the bubble, I think everybody was like, oh man, like they could win the next like 2 or 3 titles. Like they look so good. I would bet that they don't win another title with LeBron on the team. Like I think like unless you're able to, like the only way around that is if they pull like the ultimate like Lakers Yankees
like if
swap.
Kawhi comes.
Or like they put together like a weird trade package for like Lillard, or like they somehow get like Ben Simmons without having to give up like like they basically get a 3rd star by giving up like 7 first-round picks and like Alex Caruso or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to answer your question, both. But I think like we're angling on the side of like this roster is probably just not very good outside of those 2.
I agree.
All right, my last question for you. There's obviously been a lot of talk of the Team USA, like what's going on there. Like Kevin Love, we all made fun of like Kevin Love's on the roster, and it turns out Kevin Love's not on the roster anymore. He opted out, and like Bradley Beal is out now with like health and safety protocols. Subbing in is Keldon Johnson from the Spurs, who's a fine young player, and then JaVale McGee, Olympic athlete. That's what everybody
still going. JaVale.
Yeah. So, and obviously they lost to Nigeria, like I think last week in an exhibition. But the Olympics are starting here in like a month or a few weeks, I guess. But does Team USA win gold?
It's a tough one. Well, first of all, I think Nigeria is just maybe better than we were giving them credit for. Because who did they go on? I think they then beat Argentina again or somebody, or I don't know exactly what happened. Does USA win gold? I gotta say yes. I gotta go with the talent that they have on that roster, but it's really difficult because those guys are all so exhausted after like such a brutal NBA season. So many injuries. So many of them had to carry such big loads for their team. Mm-hmm. It kind of is difficult to say yes, but it also feels not smart to say no either. But then again, the vibes are just kind of off. You know what? No, I'm going to go no. I don't think they're going to win it.
All right,
I don't know who is, but no.
Julian Andrews hates America.
Yep, see, there it is.
You've heard it here first.
Wait until after the 4th of July. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's what matters.
Yeah, so I don't know. I am kind of looking forward to watching them. I'm pretty worried about the COVID in the Olympics.
Yeah, yep.
I don't know, man. It seems like it's not really going in the right direction.
Yep. I agree. I think I think overall, I think that's a big fear.
Okay, last question of the night. Who is the best like sneaky free agent this year? Or you could name a couple. No, I'm not going to let you name a couple. You got to pick one, and then we can talk about other ones. But like, so kind of taking kind of the people who've made all-star teams off the list, unless there's somebody who you feel is sneaky despite having been an all-star. Who do you got? Yeah,
so I have one, and I was actually trying to look for unrestricted free agents. Mm-hmm. But I'm actually going to give you a restricted free agent because I don't know if this team will match his offer. And it seems like just like public, like the public perception and overall feel for this player.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. So his name is Lauri Markkanen from the Chicago Bulls. And last year, he only played in 51 games, but he averaged a career low 13.6 points, 5.3 rebounds. With that, he also played a career low 25 points per game. And then, what I will say is he shot a career high 48% from the field and 40% from the 3-point line. So I think when he got into the league, I think his first 2 years, he was like 16 points, 8 rebounds per game, this Dirk Nowitzki type. And I think that's what everybody thought. And I don't think that's him. I don't think he's going to be that good. But it certainly doesn't mean that he can't be good. Yeah. And the Bulls have Patrick Williams now, and they have Vucevic, so it seems like they've kind of moved on from whatever it is Markkanen's going to give them. So I don't know what he's going to sign for, or like who's going to give him an offer, but like I could see him getting good minutes on a good team and being like a guy that we totally forget about. And then it's like, wait, Lauri Markkanen just signed a 4-year, $60 million deal, and he's a starting power forward on, the 76ers or X team or whatever. And everybody's like, holy shit, how did that happen? So, I like Markkanen. Who's yours? I don't know if you've looked.
I mean, Reggie Jackson is certainly going to get overpaid. So like that's the difficult thing. It's like, well, he's making $2.5 million this year, but he's definitely bound to be overpaid. But I think he'll be good. Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah.
Certainly going to get maxed by the Knicks. Another player who's definitely going to be overpaid. So I'm like kind of hesitant to say they're sneaky because I think they'll probably end up being bad deals. I don't know, Patty Mills. Spencer Dinwiddie actually is kind of one to watch.
He was kind of on my short list.
So I'm really curious what's going to happen with him because I could see him not wanting to go back to the Nets. And he was a very productive player for a long time. So we'll see what happens. But no, I think, I would say watch what happens with Spencer Dinwiddie. I think Markkanen's a really good call. I think got to see what happens with Lonzo Ball, right? So that's another guy who kind of is under the radar a bit right now.
Does he stay in New Orleans? Like, and if he doesn't, I think then there's like you have to kind of rethink everything there and like what your identity is there. So, and the thing is, it's gonna happen fucking fast here. Like,
I know.
Like it's like in like 2 weeks we're gonna like kind of have an idea of like where everybody's going, and it's gonna be weird.
Nemanja Bjelica.
Yeah, everybody's favorite.
Smith.
No, that was fun. It actually then that kind of prepares me. I mean, somebody else.
Richaun Holmes. Richaun Holmes.
Yeah,
is an unrestricted free agent. I didn't realize that. I'm just scrolling through this list. He'll be good on the team. He's good.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that like not like your top tier guys necessarily. Like DeRozan's probably like the top player, like as far as like what he'll get paid or whatever. But there are some interesting names and certainly like room to get teams better. So,
all right,
sweet dude, that was fun. Maybe we do that again before. So a quick rundown again of this week. Hopefully on Wednesday, we'll either know if we'll record on Wednesday. We'll record after Game 6. So either the Bucks will be the champions, or we'll be heading to a Game 7. So if the Bucks win, maybe we'll have like a Bucks fan or something on to talk about like their season and blah blah blah. And if it goes to a Game 7, maybe I don't know, maybe we do the same, and maybe we bring in like a Suns fan or like we'll figure it out.
I don't think any fans will want to talk to us if we're headed into Game 7.
No, that's
the jinx fear will be alive.
That's the 10,000 layups jinx, the classic jinx. We're gonna we'll probably do a card corner combined with that. I don't know if we're gonna be opening any cards, but I got a bunch of cards back from PSA recently, so
nice.
We can kind of showcase them and kind of talk about like new products that are coming out and blah blah blah. And then later this week we'll dive into the Wolves and like their offseason with the upcoming draft, kind of where they are sitting and whatnot. So you guys rock. Thanks for listening. Julian, thank you, man.
Peace.
Awesome. Talk to you guys next time.